we've talked a little bit about this. You used to live in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen rocket launches.
Yeah.
Sometimes you were just at work and stepped
Yeah.
outside and saw them.
Yep.
What did you think of this?
I wasn't up to date on this, so I wasn't. I didn't know this was up and coming.
Sure.
So I don't know. It's always nice to see these kind of things. They're always fascinating. Checking out the launches, and the only thing I don't know is I don't know the goal of this this launch and this mission.
Okay. And here we go. This is something I want to talk about for a while, but I was kind of waiting for something to happen.
Okay.
And I know we record these sometimes a couple of weeks before they come out.
Yeah.
So this will probably be old news by then, by the time this comes out. But this is the Friday after the Thursday that SpaceX's Starship launched.
Yeah.
The full one for the first time.
Right.
Did you see it?
I saw some of it on some social media. I wasn't like watching the whole day and up to it, but
Sure.
I happened to catch it at the right time.
Okay. So, what do you think about that? I mean, I have thoughts and things,
Yeah.
and I even got some videos and stuff for us to watch. But what we've talked a little bit about this. You used to live in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen rocket launches. Sometimes you were just at work and stepped outside and saw them.
Yep.
What did you think of this?
I wasn't up to date on this, so I wasn't. I didn't know this was up and coming.
Sure.
So I don't know. It's always nice to see these kind of things. They're always fascinating. Checking out the launches, and the only thing I don't know is I don't know the goal of this this launch and this mission.
Okay. Because everyone is making a huge deal about it.
Yeah.
So first of all, let's maybe watch this.
All right.
Put it over here. Full screen. And now I've lost the mouse. Okay, here we go.
6, 5, 4, 3.
So it's hard to catch the scale, but that thing is huge. It's almost 400 feet tall.
Yeah.
It's basically almost a 40-story building taking off.
Yeah.
And if you notice right away, they show down in the corner here what engines are lit. Because there's 33 engines,
Right.
and there's 3 that are out right now.
Yeah. And that's not on purpose.
I'll go into it in a second.
Oh,
see, now another one went out. You see that?
Yeah, I think that when I saw it, there were 5 that I was keeping track of.
I think they lose a total of 6. But right now they're at 4. But the sound we're hearing is actually from inside of SpaceX, and the employees are going nuts. There goes another engine. Now we're at 5. And now if you notice, that's a good shot right there. You can actually see the engines. It's really line up with their little graphic in the corner.
Continuing to watch the first stage as we head down range.
Okay, now let's fast forward just a little bit here.
Okay, sure.
Minutes. Onboard view.
Okay, so they're at 24 kilometers right now, and they're still climbing. And they're supposed to separate. So this is a 2-stage rocket. So there's a bottom stage and a top stage. 29 kilometers, 30 kilometers. What are we at right now? 5 engines out.
Continuing to fly.
Yep.
34
2 minutes, 40
kilometers.
seconds. Let's get ready for main engine cutoff.
35 kilometers.
Booster engine cut off.
Beginning to flip for
36.
stage separation.
37 kilometers. And now here's I've seen this before.
Okay.
So here's a problem.
Okay.
So 38 kilometers. The speed is slowing way down real fast.
Oh, yeah,
Or
sure is.
39 kilometers
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And it's twisting around. You
Yeah.
can see it.
It sounds like everyone knows something's going on.
Well,
Because speed's going
As of
now.
right now, we are awaiting stage separation.
okay, so it was 39 kilometers. Now it's 38 kilometers.
Starship should separate from the super
37
heavy booster.
kilometers. And so they're waiting for a
Yeah,
stage
Kate,
separation.
right now, it looks
36.
like we saw the start of the flip, but obviously we're seeing from the ground
And
cameras.
it's not
the entire
separating.
Starship stack continuing to
Now it's
rotate. We
35,
should have had separation
34.
by now. Obviously,
And so then the
this is,
problem with
does
this
not
is
appear to
they're
be a
evidently not
nominal
gaining
situation.
altitude.
Yeah, it does appear to be spinning, but
And
I
then-
do want to remind everyone that everything after
Yes,
clearing the
speed's
tower
going up.
was icing on
Oh,
the cake.
And then that happens.
There-
But people are still going nuts.
Yeah.
And there, as you saw, as we promised,
Okay,
an
so
exciting
let
end
me,
to the Starship.
Let me stop this.
Okay.
So let's talk about what we just looked at.
Okay.
Because I feel like I'm a nerd. I'm definitely into space stuff.
Yeah.
This is something I'm interested in, but sort of like how you said, you weren't completely aware of what was going on, or maybe why we were doing it, or why I'm saying we were doing it, like I was part of it, but I meant like why SpaceX is doing it, and I feel like the general public maybe isn't as interested as I am, which is fine. They can be interested in whatever they're interested in, and I'm interested in something else.
Yeah.
So, and I think the other piece I just want to get into that kind of irks me a little bit, and I think it's just because different people are into different things, is if you watch anyone online who's into space, they're going to call this it's a success. And if you heard all the SpaceX employees cheering and they were just going nuts,
Right.
they were like, this is incredible. And then when it obviously exploded,
Yeah.
they were still going nuts.
Yeah.
But then if you watch like the everyday news you'd see on TV, they're like, SpaceX exploded another rocket.
Right.
And they're kind of like, I guess it was another failure. But then anytime they bring on someone who is into space stuff and they go to interview them, like, hey, what's your take? Like I was watching one from Canada, and they had talked to a Canadian astronaut, and they were like, what's your take on this failure? And the guy started right out with what I would say is, he looks right at the reporter and he goes, I'm sorry, I think you've got it all wrong.
Yeah.
This is actually a big success.
Yeah.
But when you see that, what do you think? Do you think it exploded? I mean, you're mildly interested in space
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, I am. And not knowing the goal of the mission, I would have said, I don't know, because I would have looked at it like not to whatever. But I would have looked at it as both ways. As like, I don't think it was a complete mission, but it didn't seem like a failure, and especially going by like the cheers that you're hearing in the video, like it sounds like there may have been something kind of like experimental with this. So they are extremely excited that they achieved, what they were going for, even though it wasn't a complete mission.
Right.
So this seems like it's like not a total failure, because this is like the beginning of the next steps.
Yeah. So first of all, I should say what we just watched. There's no people on that, and this spacecraft is a prototype. It's an experiment. So I kind of want to go back into a little bit of a rant here, but a little bit back in time, and to look at space culture in this country has been mainly dominated until very, very recently by NASA. And the deal with NASA, the way it works is, of course, it's paid for by tax dollars. So the problem with that is that they set out goals, and some of the goals are some pretty extreme goals to do some things that we've never done before, like putting someone in space for the first time or landing on the moon. That's some pretty extreme things. But when you're dealing with an organization like that who is funded by the government, and we know that it's going to be expensive, you have to answer for that. And so what the general public doesn't want to see is explosions or failures. So the issue with that is that they do tests. If you are interested, you can go online and you can see videos of them testing rocket motors and previous rockets and how we actually got to the point where we could put somebody in space. There were failures. The difference between what's going on with NASA before and what is going on with SpaceX now is a couple different things. So number one, SpaceX doesn't take the same philosophy that NASA does. NASA is like, let's test all the individual components, put it together. We spent a lot of taxpayers' dollars on this. We better have it right. We want zero failure.
Right.
What SpaceX is doing is less of what is known in space culture and more of what's known in, like, let's say, Silicon Valley startup environment. And Silicon Valley is like, let's do something extraordinary. Let's be the first ones to do it. And if we break stuff along the way, as long as we learn from every failure and we fix it as fast as we can, then we're okay.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how SpaceX works. They want to move fast and break stuff. And the difference between when we were putting a man into space for the very first time and now we have the internet and everyone has smartphones with high definition cameras on them. So they're moving fast and breaking things. And I want to say one of the extraordinary things about that spacecraft, which is called Starship, is that if you listen to Elon Musk talk about Tesla, he said over and over again that it's very easy to make a prototype car. It is very hard to mass produce that car. So he is not only making this new type of rocket, but he's also creating the manufacturing arm, or the what do you call it? What did Henry Ford set up? The when they built the cars in the line?
Like an assembly line?
Assembly line. Thank you. I don't know why I'm forgetting that word. But he's also created the assembly line for this. So his whole goal with the ship is to colonize Mars. And so we're going to need a couple things. One, we're going to need a very big ship. And number two, we're going to need a lot of them. So he's like, instead of figuring out the ship and then figuring out how to manufacture them, let's do it both at the same time. So every time we learn something from the ship, we'll just make a change, the assembly line, and we'll just fix it there.
Yeah.
So I think the cool part about all this is like, this ship that just exploded, it's a big deal for many reasons, but they actually have 2 more ships ready to go.
Oh, nice.
And the 2 ships that they've got ready to go are more advanced than the ship they just launched.
Okay.
So there was a piece of them that just wanted to, first of all, in any failure, if you're doing things right, you'll learn something from it.
Right.
And so they thought, well, instead of just moving to the next ships, why don't we use this, even though it's outdated, even though it's brand new
Mm-hmm.
and outdated. Let's just use it. And whatever we learn, and we'll be able to make changes to the other 2 ships that are ready to go before we let them off.
Right.
So they straight up said right beforehand, if it makes it off the launch platform, it's a win.
Yeah.
And anything after that is just icing on the cake.
Yeah.
So when I watch normal news and they're like, another failure, and everyone in that room is like, yes, we did it. Did you see it get off the launch pad?
Yeah.
That was their goal.
Yeah. Nice.
And they accomplished that. So now knowing that, how do you feel about watching it explode?
I don't know, the same. You know, I mean, you know, I didn't have, you know, bad feelings before, so but that's interesting to know that they have 2 ready to go. So do they already have a plan for when they're going to try to launch those?
Yes. Well, let me I got another piece here. I should have pulled up another video, but let me see if I can get it really quick.
And I got another question for you about this because
Sure.
because which I don't know if you're going to go into this later, but so the as we were looking at like the engines, is that like a new design? Is that something to pay attention to?
Yes. Well, first of all, the engines that they're using are they're SpaceX designed engines, and they're named Raptor engines. And they have several different engines. They have the Merlin, the Draco, the Raptor. This is their most advanced and most powerful engine. And the other thing is that for the most part, when you're dealing with, and there's several different types of rocket engines, but there's solid rocket boosters, there's hybrids, and then there's liquid boosters. And these are liquid. So I would say most rockets launch on a mixture of 2 different liquids. One, if you think about it, to create fire, you basically need 3 things. You need fuel, oxygen, and heat. So once they've ignited the rocket engine and they've ignited the fuel, if you fly it outside of our atmosphere, you're going to need to bring an oxidizer or oxygen with you. So for the most part, most rockets run on rocket fuel or RP1, and some type of like normally like liquid oxygen. Like the space shuttle ran on that. Well, it also has solid rocket boosters, but if we just talk about the liquid engines, it ran on that liquid oxygen and RP1. And RP1 is basically like the closest thing to compare it to would be like kerosene, but like really refined kerosene.
Okay.
This runs on liquid oxygen and methane. And the reason why it runs on methane is because their eventual goal is to go to Mars. And as far as we know, we're not going to be able to get kerosene on Mars, but we can get methane.
Okay.
So we could potentially fly there, gas up, and fly back.
Right.
If we had a way to refine it,
Right.
but you know, these are steps. Okay, so I'm going to throw up one more thing here.
Okay.
Because I kind of want to talk. You had a question about launches. This is a launch of a space shuttle. Now I've never seen this video, so hopefully, it'll show what I want it to show here. Okay.
3, 2,
Wait, let's back up just a little bit.
T-minus 10.
Okay.
9, 8.
So see those
7,
sparks,
Yeah.
6, 5,
and then
3, 2, 1.
you see all this smoke. Okay. First of all, what do you think the sparks are for?
Like a igniter.
No.
You know? No.
That's what I used to think too when I was a kid.
Okay.
And I now know because they ignite the engines chemically.
Okay.
The sparks are for if there's any leaking gas around.
Oh, sure.
'Cause,
Nice. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, so like once the engine get going, you don't want it to ignite a big plume outside because it could damage the craft and kill the people inside.
Right.
And now you see all of this. What is that? Smoke? What is that?
I don't know. It looks like smoke, but I don't think that's what that is.
It's steam.
Ah.
Okay, so this is where I'm going with this. Why would there be steam? So first of all, we already saw the sparks.
Okay.
Now there's steam. So why is there steam? The reason why there's steam, and what you can't see, you might be able to see down here a little bit. There is a massive amount of water being poured in underneath the space shuttle. And there's also a huge trench underneath there. So the trench is called a flame diverter or a flame diverter. So there's going to be a massive flame coming out of these rocket engines, of course,
Right.
and that is to help compensate with that. And then the steam is because there is a massive amount of water being pumped underneath there. And the reason why the water is being pumped underneath there is because as the rockets hit the water, it creates like an acoustic cushion. So if you think about it, sound waves are just vibrations.
Yeah.
And so if you're about to do something very violent, launch something into space, and it could shake things apart. It could shake things apart on the ship. It could shake things apart on the launch pad. And so they pump water in there. It's called a water deluge. I'm saying that wrong. But the point is that it's for acoustic reasons to cut down on vibrations, so it protects the craft and the launch pad and everything else.
Okay.
So you were asking if there's something special here about these motors. So first of all, we already talked that they are very powerful. In fact, they are I don't know if they're the most powerful because the Saturn V F1 engines were very powerful, but I would say they're the most powerful for the size that they are.
Yeah.
And SpaceX was wondering if they needed a flame diverter or if they needed a water deluge system. Still saying that wrong, I think, or both.
Okay.
Like NASA uses both. I should also say that one of the big deals of Starship is that this is the biggest and most powerful rocket ever launched by man.
Yeah.
So whether it blew up or not, the fact that it made it off the pad, it's already breaking records.
Yeah.
So here is an image of what it looks like underneath the launch site. They didn't have a water system or a flame diverter. They just had reinforced concrete.
Yeah.
And 33 of some of the most powerful engines ripped right through the reinforced concrete. And this is really specialized concrete. And then dug a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
So, like you were telling me, when you would hear a rocket launch being even many, many miles away, it was very, very loud.
Oh yeah.
From what I've heard from people that were there, mostly on YouTube, that this was even louder.
Yeah.
I mean, their main workhorse is the Falcon 9 rocket, and that's what takes astronauts to orbit. That has 9 Merlin engines on it. These are Raptor engines, so they're more powerful. And the bottom portion of this rocket had 33 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's insane.
I mean, that is some immense power. It ripped a hole in reinforced concrete.
Yeah.
And there was another video of it shows reinforced concrete being thrown into the ocean because they're right there on the ocean.
Yeah. Wow.
So the point of this rocket is to, one, take us to Mars. That's the main goal.
Yeah.
But also to bring space costs down. It is so big and so powerful that it could literally bring costs down low enough to put things into space at just maybe a couple $100,000.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it used to be like if you bought an Atlas rocket, let's say, and you wanted to have an Atlas rocket to put something into space. It could cost you hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
And then the Atlas rocket's just thrown away, never to be reused again. The SpaceX started using the Falcon 9 in the first part of the Falcon 9, the stage 1 is reused, and it can be reused up to 10 times. And if you're willing to use a reused rocket, they can put around the same amount into space for somewhere in the neighborhood of 62 million. So we went from hundreds of millions, maybe $200-300 million down to 62.
Okay.
The SpaceX Starship rocket, which is the Starship and then a booster underneath, and that's the thing with the 33 engines. That's called Super Heavy. With that, it could put prices down just to a couple million. Now, some people are saying 10 million. Elon Musk has said a couple million. I mean, I guess it's how many times you can reuse the whole system because they're not throwing anything away with this.
Yeah.
And it's huge. So we can start lifting much larger things into space.
Nice. Nice. Very exciting.
It's game changing.
Yeah.
Well, like an easy example is have you heard of Starlink, SpaceX's internet? Okay, so they've been using the Falcon 9 to put the Starlink satellites in orbit. And every time they have a fully loaded Falcon 9 with Starlink satellites, there is 60 of them on board.
Whoa.
But if they were to use a Starship to put the exact same size satellites in orbit, they'd be able to put 400 every time.
Okay.
So it's like 7 times bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing right there, we were talking about this before we turned the camera on, and Starship and Super Heavy combined are 394 feet tall. So it's basically like a 40-story building or a 39-story building going into space.
Yeah. I don't know if a lot of people realize how tall that is. Because if you look at like the original space shuttle, this thing like towers over that.
Yeah, in fact, here, let me look it up. Space shuttle height. Space shuttle fully assembled. So that is the orange fuel tank and the space shuttle with the 2 solid rocket boosters.
Right.
Sits 184 feet off the ground. And we just said that Starship sat 394 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a couple times bigger.
Yeah.
That's just nuts.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And the top portion is supposed to be able to return and land.
Yeah. And this is to get us to Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the original goal was to get us to Mars, but then they also said we can just bring costs to put things in orbit way down.
Yeah.
And then NASA came along and said, well, we got the Artemis mission. We're going back to the moon. We need a lander. And then Elon was like, oh, I can make a variant of this to land on the moon. Because, I mean, if the point was to go to Mars, the moon kind of seems easy in comparison. I'm not saying that getting to the moon is easy, but
Right.
it's got to be easier than getting to Mars. I mean,
So you said what do you know what dates they had planned to do the next launch, or have they released any of that information?
well, right after it, they said that look forward to the next launch in a couple months or 2-3 months.
Nice.
But now the question online, all the space nerds, including myself, are thinking, you also just dug a huge trench underneath your launch pad, and they only have the one launch pad right now.
okay.
They're in construction of a second one, and there have been talks about having a third one. But for right now, because we're in the prototype phase, we've got one launch pad, and it has a massive hole
Yeah.
underneath it.
Yeah.
So, I'm not an engineer. I don't know exactly how you're supposed to fix that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
You don't think it'll be ready in a couple months?
I don't know. They've done some pretty remarkable things, but I mean, it was a pretty big hole.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look like a big hole when you just look at the picture.
Yeah.
But if you remember, this thing is almost 400 feet tall. And then that was the pad that it sat on. So the pad's even, I mean, it's a little bit, it's got a bigger diameter than the rocket. And we were looking at it and it just looked like, oh, it was a little hole. No, but that thing has got to be deep.
Yeah.
I mean, it threw pieces of concrete, hundreds of feet into the ocean.
Yeah. Well, interesting. I'll be paying more attention to the next launches and seeing where this goes. Like, are you hopeful that we'll get things to Mars and back? Like, have you given that much thought?
I have, and I think we will. I'm not sure on whose timeline we're going to do it on. I feel like sometimes when Elon Musk says things, he's very ambitious with his timelines. But the other thing is that most of the things that he's said, or the majority of things that he's said, have come true. So I think given enough time, we will go to Mars. I mean, we are definitely going back to the moon.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's a doubt about that. I don't know what so for some of the critics out there, what would you say is like the benefit of going back to the moon?
Well, I would say that the first time we did it, and I hope I'm not upsetting anyone, but I feel like it was a little bit more of a stunt. It was to prove superiority over Russia, because we were in a space race. And the fact that we did it and we didn't, well, I was going to say didn't lose anyone, but we did lose the 3 Apollo 1 astronauts, which is terrible. But the fact that we did it, I would say, is pretty remarkable. But we didn't really go there with any more of a goal than to kind of go there. And since we were going there, we did run some experiments, which is good. We got some science out of it. But I think our technology is advanced to the point now we can go there and stay there and build maybe a base and really do some real hardcore science there, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
But I would say the other piece of bringing down space travel, or bringing the cost of space travel down, is we may see, small startups that want to put stuff in orbit, but for, cost alone, they were always prohibited. And we could be personally impacted by that. Like we might have new apps on our phones or new technology that we can just go to the store and buy that would have never existed because the cost of space was just too prohibited.
Yeah.
Or even past that, like, I remember in the 90s, there was a space tourist and he paid like $20 million to go up to the ISS. Or, wait, was it? No, it wasn't. It was before the ISS. Maybe you just went up on a Russian rocket. Now I'm getting a little confused here. But then I know that most recently when we were flying to space using the Russians, I believe the bill was $80 million a person. And now the talk for some of this newer space tourism stuff, like, what is it? Virgin, or I was going to say Virgin. It's Virgin Galactic, right? I think they were originally saying it was going to be $250,000 a person, but you'd only be in space for like a couple minutes because it's a suborbital flight. And now I think they're saying it's somewhere around $450,000. But there's not official prices out yet. And then there's what Blue Origin was doing, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
And he's taken some people up, including like William Shatner. But I haven't heard any solid prices around there. But I'm going to guess it's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But if Elon gets his way with this thing, what if it was 20,000 or 50,000? Like, would you orbit the planet for 20 grand?
Like if I was going to get that much money?
No. Like if you had to pay that.
No, I wouldn't.
Do you have any desire to go into space?
Not until it's like real stable. But Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do have a desire only because I would actually love to know like the accurate information on what like all these satellites that are around Earth look like, because you've seen like these like renderings, or I don't even know if they're like legit images of like all of the satellites or space junk that's like around Earth,
Yes.
or so I would like to see firsthand what
Well,
it actually looks like.
I feel like if you went into space, you wouldn't want to go anywhere near them because of how fast they're moving.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always feel like those renderings don't do it justice for the fact that the planet is so big and these objects are small. I mean, some of them could be the size of a bus or something like that. But my point is relative to the
Yeah,
planet,
right. Yeah.
they're all a lot farther away from each other than.
Yeah.
I mean, there are things that have to be moved around so that we don't have collisions, but it's not like you would look out the window of the International Space Station and be like, "Oh, I can see all the satellites."
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't see anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you see the planet and the stars and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll be interested in that. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I mean, in all seriousness, I would eventually, if I had all that money, I would go to space.
Okay, so let's say it costs 20 grand. Let's say you've got it, and let's say 100 people can fly on the Starship at a time, and let's say they start doing it, and like 5 or 6 years goes by, and they're doing like one a week. So now we're talking about thousands of people have done it. Then you'd be down.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I would be.
Now, what would you look forward to the most?
Okay, so I would need some more detail into this trip. So, is this this is going?
Let's say it's just in orbit and then back. So you go up and you go around the planet a couple times and you come back.
Okay. So what that would take a couple days, couple weeks?
Well, no. It all depends on how fast you're moving, but you could orbit the planet in like 90 minutes. So let's say it was just a day trip.
Oh man. Okay, so 20 grand for 24 hours.
Sure.
Ooh, man.
But
I mean that's
no.
steep.
We already in this scenario, you already have the money.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just saying still 20 grand is 20 grand.
Okay, but what would you be looking forward to?
Okay. So I would probably be, I don't know, just a whole experience. I mean that's almost surreal to be able to see the planet from that high up. So yeah, I don't even know if I would be looking for anything in particular. I would just be probably like astounded at looking at the planet from that distance. It seemed like the entire thing.
Okay, so looking out the window would be like weightless would be like number 2. Looking out the window, number 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's how I feel too. To be able to look down and just know that all of humanity is basically down there.
Yeah.
And I'm somehow, for some reason, away from it.
Right.
I think that would be incredible. And I think the weightlessness would be fun, although I would be a little worried about maybe some motion sickness.
Oh, yeah.
I don't normally get motion sickness, but I've heard even very accomplished like test pilots and stuff have gotten sick from being weightless for a period of time.
Yeah.
And I would say the part that I would be most worried about and not looking forward to at all would be probably the launch and the reentry.
Oh, okay.
Are you a roller coaster kind of guy?
Not anymore. In my old age, no.
Right. It's weird. I like fast things that I can drive.
Yeah.
But when I'm not in control, like on a roller coaster, not as much fun for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like the ascent and descent of the trip, I would just be like, okay, this is only going to take a couple
Yeah,
minutes,
yeah.
and I'm going to make it,
Yeah.
and don't have any negative thoughts, and everything will be okay.
Yeah,
But I think my biggest part would be what you were saying, to look out the window.
yeah. Yeah, and actually thinking about it too, I think I might like to take off. Anytime I've been on a flight, takeoff was always like the most exciting part of the trip, aside from looking out the window.
Just to sit back and feel the
Yeah,
push of the plane as you
Yeah.
accelerate into the air.
yeah.
Okay.
And as you go from like, I don't even know, what is it? I don't know how fast they go from takeoff from 0 to 60 in about 2 seconds.
Oh, I don't know how fast like
But yeah, it's
an aircraft accelerates, but if you notice from the video we were watching, now they didn't have all the engines running. You saw it in the graphic in the corner. At first, we started with missing 3, but it took them like 5 or 6 seconds just to clear the tower,
Yeah.
which is kind of nuts. I think that also just lends some creed to how big everything is.
Yeah.
It looks like it's moving slow.
Right. But it's, but I don't know. That's a huge ship. And I don't know, it's a lot of power. You would definitely feel, I don't think that if you were on that, you wouldn't be like, okay, are we moving? Like, it would be so powerful. Yeah.
I think you'd be sitting there and you'd be instantly pushed into your seat.
Oh, yeah.
And then the pressure would just push and push and push until you hit your maximum.
Yeah.
I also think the other big game changer of all this is, you know, like when we went to the moon during the Apollo missions, they at the time had created the biggest and most powerful rocket, the Saturn V. That's what took us there.
Yeah.
Now, since that in itself was a feat, when we wanted to bring things there, they had to be, there were constraints. You can't bring everything. So there were weight constraints and size constraints and a bunch of things. I think Starship is going to do away with a lot of that. Because if you look at it from a standpoint that he wants to make thousands of these, and the other thing that we didn't talk about is this is a test vehicle. I did say that there was a variant that would go to the moon, but there are several variants. One of the variants is a tanker. So imagine this. Let's say you put something really heavy in Starship, and you have just enough fuel to get to orbit, but really you wanted to take it to Mars. Well, as long as you can get it to orbit, then it can just sit in orbit in another Starship, the tanker version, fill up with fuel, come up there, fuel your ship up.
Oh.
Even if it takes multiple trips. And then you're in orbit and you're fully fueled and the hard part's over, escaping Earth's atmosphere. You can take anything you want anywhere you want.
Yeah.
So like when we went to the moon before and we had a little fold-up rover because we wanted the guys to be able to travel farther than they could walk. I mean, look at that thing. I mean, it was cool that we did it, but it's kind of a fold-up thing with lawn chairs on top of it. On one of the missions, guy turned just right, one of the astronauts, and he accidentally tore part of the fender off, which was a problem because moon dust goes everywhere. And they actually kind of had to fix it.
Yeah.
But imagine if we can just take a truck up there, like a full-on, I mean, you wouldn't be able to have gas on the moon, but what about an electric truck? And you make it real big so that maybe you make it so big that astronauts can climb in and take their spacesuits off and just be inside without their clunky spacesuits on. And that is going to be totally doable. I mean, there are so many parts of this that make it a game changer.
Yeah. Nice.
Just the fact that like we could take pieces of construction equipment to the moon.
Yeah.
And use material on the moon to build our own base.
Yeah.
Which is what we'll have to do with Mars at some point. We can't send everything from Earth. That's not going to work.
Oh, yeah. So you got to be a little bit closer.
Yeah, and on the moon, can't send everything there. We're gonna need to start using the resources that are around us. So we'll have to send something to work the land and get whatever materials we need out of it, and then refine it, and then build whatever we need.
So you're really on board with this expanding our colonization, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you ask me if I want to go to Mars, I think if I was younger, the answer would probably be yes. At my age, the answer is no. I would go to the moon because it feels like it would be easier to get back. But again, I'd probably, like you, I'd want to see some other people do it first.
Yeah.
But I'm excited, even if I don't ever get to go anywhere, the fact that a bunch of people will, I think is incredible.
Yeah. So let's if this was to happen sometime soon, I know that we've talked about this before, but you would have to think that like this would be the definitive end to the flat Earth theory.
Well, no, I just think, I don't think they have a leg to stand on right now.
Yeah.
But when thousands of people are going into space and just pulling their cell phones out and taking a picture from the window,
Yeah.
then what do you say?
Yeah. Yeah. Then you got nothing.
I mean, I don't think they have anything right now, but I think it's funny that they fight for it.
Yeah.
And the other part of me thinks, soon as space tourism becomes like a real thing that not just the mega rich can afford, don't you think one of them would raise money? I mean, if all the flat earthers, did a GoFundMe, or one flat earther did a GoFundMe, and they all put in like $100,
Yeah.
pretty sure they could buy one of these guys,
Oh yeah.
a ticket.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like as soon as this is ready to go, that the first trip should be exclusively for the flat Earth community.
Well, there's a Dear Moon project that I believe is already fully funded, and they're bringing, I think it's 8 people. I could be wrong on that, but they're going to fly around the moon and then come back in a Starship. I believe that was already funded. Here, wait, Dear Moon crew. I think it's 8 people, but some of the people are artists and influencers and things like that. Have you ever heard of this guy? He's got his own YouTube channel. I'm a huge fan of him. Everyday Astronaut.
Yeah.
Okay, he's going.
Oh, nice.
He's been selected for Dear Moon.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dear Moon Project is a lunar tourism mission and art project conceived and financed by the billionaire. I think this is the guy that started Alibaba. Am I wrong here? No, that is not what he started. He started a bunch of other things. Okay. Sorry, I'm confusing 2 people. But the crew, the mission is for 6 days, and the crew size is 10.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut guy, is one of them.
Nice.
And they're going to be doing it on a Starship. The thing is that we're still in the early stages of, prototypes. They're still...
Yeah.
I'm not going to say blowing them up on purpose.
Yeah.
But kind of on purpose. I mean, if you look at it, and this is one of the things I think is cool about the whole SpaceX Starship thing is, like, if you're NASA and you don't want to make any mistakes and you get all the way through the testing phase and then you decide this thing's good to go, and then you put people on it and then it explodes,
Right.
well, then that's a problem.
That's tragic.
But if you just create an assembly line and make a ton of these things and just push them to their limits until they explode, then you'll know where all the problems are.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing that I'll be looking forward to if I got to go on a tour of the Earth is probably the food.
You like astronaut food?
Yeah. Yeah. It's which I'm not sure. I should look more into it to see if it's readily available now for public consumption.
Are you being serious?
Yeah,
right
I'm
now?
serious. Listen, when I was in, okay, so you might have to help me with the dates here, but this was probably, man, I don't really want to like divulge all my age information, but I think I was in like the 5th grade. There must have been some space exploration going.
I think we've said our ages before.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Anyway, I don't know what year this was, but
You're 65 and I'm 44. I meant you're
Yeah, yeah.
43.
But I'm pretty sure I was in the 5th grade at the time, and something was going on. But my teacher brought in space food, so it was like packets of food in the powder, and we got to try different ones. Like I remember having like mashed potatoes and gravy. Bananas.
I thought you were just going to say that crappy ice cream they always eat.
Oh no, we had tried some of the ice cream. And there was something else I can't remember, but I do remember like the mashed potatoes and gravy and it tasting exactly like that, but it was a powder. Like it was.
Well, I'm going to ruin something here for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I've seen several interviews with astronauts, and they talk about the effect of being weightless for a long period of time. One of the astronauts was talking about how the very first night he was trying to sleep because, it was his first night in space. He was like, I know I'm supposed to be sleeping, but it's hard to sleep, He finally eventually went to sleep, and he woke up in the middle of the night, and he felt like he was doing a headstand because, gravity's not pulling the blood down. All the blood was basically like pooling in his head, and he felt like he was upside down, even though he wasn't, because he was in space. There isn't an upside down.
Yeah.
He said the other problem with that is that it ruins your taste buds. He said one of the most requested things on space missions is hot sauces.
Oh yeah.
They spice the hell out of everything because they can't taste anything.
Oh wow.
And so at least if you just throw some killer hot sauce on it, at least it tastes like something.
Yeah.
So astronaut food might be fun on Earth. I'm not sure how great it'll be once you get into space, unless you dump a bunch of hot sauce on it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that by the time I would get to go up there, they would have much more variety. It would be a lot more expanded food. Like, I'm sure it would be even something ridiculous. Like, I would be able to pick like a McDonald's cheeseburger and some fries would be,
I mean, if they're going to fully go into a space tourism, they probably will expand what they're serving. But wasn't there the stunt in was it the early 2000s or was it the 80s? Or, I'm sorry, was it the early 2000s or was it the 90s? Where Pizza Hut sent a pizza to orbit.
Oh yeah. I think they did do that.
So fast food has already been in space.
Yeah.
I mean, I count Pizza Hut's fast food, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah. So that's definitely something I would look forward to.
So, what if you got a chance to go to the moon?
Yeah, I would take it too. I guess I would do that. I would. Now, how's this moon trip looking? Am I am I getting dropped off?
Yeah.
Parking
That was
at
the
moon?
other thing I was going to say. Does it make a difference if they just go around the moon or if they land? And how does that make a difference? Like if they landed, would you be like, I don't know about that. I'm not getting out.
Yeah. I don't know if I would get out. I think I would be good with going around the moon. Yeah. I mean, I know people would be like, you're already there. Why not? But yeah. I mean, it's a long way there and a long way back. I just like to.
Now, what if you got to go to Mars?
Man, that's a long trip. That's like 6 months.
Could be 6 months.
Dang, that's a long time. Yeah. Then you know what? Then I'm getting out.
Okay.
I'm getting out.
Well, wait a second. Now NASA's working on nuclear propulsion. So like I was saying before, most like liquid rockets will use RP1 and liquid oxygen, which is basically kerosene liquid oxygen. And Starship is using liquid oxygen and methane. The trick with a nuclear propulsion system or a nuclear rocket engine is that you're actually just using the heat from the nuclear reaction to expel the gas. So instead of having two gases, you could have one gas, and then you could have essentially like a nuclear reactor to heat everything up and send it out the back. But the difference is that if you think about it, you're almost carrying like twice as much fuel. So you can go twice as far or twice as fast, or I don't really know if it's twice. I'm just using that as an example. I have no idea what the numbers are, but the point is it's supposed to make us go further faster. And they were saying that if they were able to get this nuclear engine working, we could possibly get to Mars in a month and a half.
Oh, wow. Man.
So I guess, you know what? Actually, now that I've said that out loud, I guess it's more than twice as fast.
Yeah.
But would you do that?
Getting to Mars twice as fast, that thing's hauling ass.
Yeah.
I
Would
don't
you
know.
do it?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think all that speed, that might get to your head.
No, I mean, you're in space, so I mean, I guess you still feel the acceleration, but once you got up to speed, you wouldn't feel anything.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I still do it though. I'll still do it.
Okay, now what if it was one way?
So I'm conflicted on this one because I'm certain that I would be able to find the Mars people under the surface.
Oh yeah, because we talked about that in that prior.
However, I don't know
previous.
if they would like that. So my reception.
So you're going to Mars with a shovel.
Yeah, and my reception may not be very well because they'd be like, "You're not supposed to be finding. You're not supposed to be giving our secrets away." So I don't know.
Okay, so I still don't know if you're joking about all this crap. Okay, so if it was one way, would you go?
I got a family. No, I don't think I would go.
See, now what if you could take your family with you?
No, no, I don't think so. I don't think they're gonna want to go Mars one way and be like, "Yeah, it's."
See, I kind of feel like if it was one way, my answer would be no in Mars's current state. But if there was already like an entire city there and somebody said one way, I mean, what's the difference between a city on Earth and a city on Mars? Might as well spend the last half of my life on another planet.
I don't want this to sound like super dark or anything, but I mean, if I had like an illness, like a terminal illness or something, or if I had nothing else here on Earth, then for sure I would do it one way. But yeah, other than that, probably not.
What about the moon? What if
Not one way to the moon? No thanks.
what if there was one way to the moon, but there was a huge city up there, and you could bring your family?
Yeah, I don't know. Nah.
You don't think you guys could go all live in a city on the moon?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
What would hold you back?
How long has the city been there?
Let's say, I mean, there isn't one right now, but let's say let's say we live in the distant future. So let's say the city was already there for 50 years.
Oh, okay.
And they were like, hey, there's a bunch of great job opportunities, and there's a bunch of great educational opportunities, but you couldn't come back.
Okay. It was been there for 50 years.
And it's big. There's maybe, let's say, 200,000 people living there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess so. I would probably go one way. Am I getting like some type of compensation for leaving Earth? Like, like I know I'm going.
I mean, you could sell your house and stuff.
Yeah, but
you probably have to buy something there.
Yeah. So I would probably have to get more. Like is the people on the Earth, or I don't know, the U.S. government or the Earth government, however the situation looks at the time, are they giving compensation for people to like go?
What, you want extra money? I said there was a job there and great education.
Yeah, they're gonna have to.
And you're still going, what about me?
Yeah, exactly. Because there's got to be some benefit.
There's just one layer of icing on this cake. You can't have two.
There's a reason that they're like, you want to go live on Mars full time? It's a one way trip.
Yeah.
There's a job there. So they got to be like, here's an extra.
But your kids would get like great education or something.
I don't know. I guess. I mean, the scenery doesn't seem as nice.
Didn't you
on
live in
Mars.
Florida, then you lived in New York, and now you live in Michigan?
Yeah, yeah. But the scenery still.
But what about your family? Why are you moving so much?
Maybe I would go, but I don't know. That's a tough one.
And what do you mean the scenery isn't as nice? Right now we look up at the sky and we just see a gray moon. But if you were on the moon, you look up at the sky and see like a blue and white and brown marble.
I'm not talking about the sky. There's no hills or mountains or grass. There ain't no grass on Mars.
No, there's hills and mountains. There's no grass out, but there could be grass indoors. You don't know what they build. Maybe they build a big stadium. And when they're not having game day, everyone uses it as a park.
I changed my mind. I'm not going.
Okay. Well, I don't know. This whole episode seems like more of a rant from me.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that's super impressed, and that I don't think I'm not on the board of what the generic media seems to say. You know, oh, look at this failure. I think I can't wait for the next one. Even if the next one explodes, even if the next 5 explode.
Yeah.
Every step of the way, I am more and more amazed than I don't know, than anything else I've seen. I feel like some of the people that are like, I was born too late and I never got to see Apollo. I was born too late. You were born too late. We are not old enough to be around for when they landed on the moon. And I feel like this is our Apollo mission. This is our, we're going to see all kinds of great stuff. What if somebody does go to Mars? What if we go back to the moon?
Yeah. Yeah, it is exciting when you think about it that way. So, you know, I don't know. I'm hoping that more people kind of get on board and, you know, are excited about it. And, you know.
I mean, think of it from the space tourism standpoint. Like when NASA goes to the moon, and I mean like actually on the moon, and is there walking around, they're there to get a job done. They have things to do, experiments to run. They don't have time to waste. But what if SpaceX makes going to the moon so mundane and so many people can afford it? Maybe not the average middle-class household can afford it, but what if influencers could afford it? You could go on YouTube and watch your favorite influencer go, hey, I'm going to climb a mountain on the moon. I tune in for that.
Yeah.
I mean, the secondaries of this pass all the science. I mean, what if they start shooting movies on the moon? I'd watch that.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise has already signed up for a movie they're going to shoot on the ISS.
Oh, yeah. Is it a Mission Impossible?
I don't know what it is. Russia actually shot a movie on the ISS last year, or no, 2 years ago, and it just came out. And it's in Russian though, and I don't speak Russian. But I'll watch that Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah.
All right, I don't know. I guess comment down below if you guys are excited as I am. I feel like a lot of people are missing out because there's a lot of really cool stuff that's about to happen, and I feel like what'll happen is in 5 or 6 years, when it actually happens, they'll go, why did I never hear of this? And I'll be sitting there going, I've been watching it the whole time.
Yeah, and definitely comment below if you would take that one-way to Mars trip.
Yeah, or the one way to the moon.
Yeah.
I mean, the moon feels a lot less than one way, but I feel like that's more of a round trip kind of thing. But okay. All right. Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye.